Hi, boys and girls. We are going to read another story today, and I have a graphic organizer that you see here on this page. It is a problem solution graphic organizer. You can use this as a good reader and dump this into your mind and think about a story and how some stories that are fiction or nonfiction might have problems. And also, they might have some different details that show you the steps that a character or real person might take to solving their problem. And then you also could find a solution. So that would be how that problem is solved. And that typically would be at the end of a story. Remember, two special things. You might not always have a chart like this to record or write down your ideas. So you could just go ahead and put this into your mind, right? You also might be reading a story and there could be a real person or a character and they might have a really big problem. And then you might wonder what happened at the end of the story when that solution does not come at the end of the story. So sometimes those problems in a real person's life or with a character aren't solved. And that's just the way life works. So those are some things to look for as you are reading. We are going to look at a story together, and I want you to keep that chart in mind as we read about Thomas Edison. He was an inventor. So our title is Thomas Edison, Inventor. This is another biography, and I know you've been enjoying the biographies this week. Those are stories that someone is telling. It's been written about someone's real life. That's what a biography is. Let's reread our essential question for the week. What inventions do you know about? We're going to read about inventor Thomas Edison. And he is very famous. If you told your parents you were reading about him, they would probably know who he was. So let's go ahead and first of all, think about your title. And you might look at this page, and good readers will ask some questions in their mind before they start to read a story by looking at the pictures and the title. And you also can make some predictions. If I look here, I might think, wow, there are a lot of items on this page, on this illustration, that I don't recognize. Those things might look like they're from long ago. You can ask yourself some great questions. That's a great reader strategy. Let's go ahead and read about Thomas Edison, inventor. And remember, try to focus on putting that chart into your mind about problem, steps to solution, and a solution, how a problem might be solved. Let's see if Thomas Edison has any problems in this biography. Ooh, it's a chapter book. I can't believe you're reading chapter books already. Chapter 1. Young Tom Edison asked lots of questions. When someone told him, I don't know, Tom had one more question. He asked, why don't you know? He did lots of experiments to find out. Tom watched a goose sit on some eggs. He saw the eggs hatch. He wanted to know what would happen if he sat on eggs. So Tom made a nest. Then he put goose and chicken eggs on the nest. Next, he sat on the eggs and found out, splat. Good readers might make an inference here, and that's a big word. What an inference is, it's kind of like a mixing bowl. You might have a bowl and you have all these different things that you know already in your life. And then what happens, you might look at the picture and you might look at the words and you might draw an inference. And that means that you'd use that information to gain an idea. So it doesn't say that Tom sat on the eggs and smashed them open. It just says splat. And then we see that he has egg on his pants. So we could draw the inference that, you know what, when he sat in those eggs, he smashed them, right? Young Tom also knew that birds ate worms and birds could fly. What if people ate worms? Tom guessed that they would fly too. So he gave a girl a cup of chopped worms and water. The girl drank it and got sick. And she didn't fly. Wow, you could make a little prediction at home about what would happen if you did that or someone did that at our school. That would probably not be a good thing, right? Not a good choice for Tom. Tom Edison, the boy who asked all those questions and did those unusual experiments, became the man whose inventions changed the world. Go ahead and make some predictions about what kind of inventions you think he might have made that would have changed our world. Go ahead and ask yourself some important questions, and then we'll see if you can find some answers. Tom Edison was born in 1847 in Milan, Ohio. He was the seventh and youngest child of Sam and Nancy Edison. Sam had a lumber mill. Nancy had been a teacher. When Tom had trouble in school, his mother became his teacher at home. Chapter 2. Young Tom did many of his experiments in the cellar of his home. He had lots of jars of chemicals. He wanted to keep people from messing with them. To fix the problem, he had an idea. So here we see he had a problem. He didn't want people touching his jars and messing with them. So let's see what his steps were. He wrote poison on each jar. He thought that would keep others away. He was right. So his steps for a solution here were to write poison on the jar. Yikes. And then his solution was that worked. People didn't touch his stuff anymore. I don't think I would touch his stuff either. There were often smoke, strange smells, and loud noises in the Edison home. It all came from the cellar and from young Tom's experiments. Tom needed money to pay for chemicals and other things. As a result, he got a job when he was 12. He sold newspapers and candies on trains. Then at 15, he began to write, print, and sell his own newspaper for travelers. He named it the Grand Trunk Herald. Tom wrote news of people he met on the train. He also wrote how he felt about work. The more to do, he wrote in his newspaper, the more done. Tom liked to keep busy. Tom kept very busy on the train. He even set up his own lab in the baggage car. Go ahead and share with someone at home what Tom did to keep busy. He was a very, very busy kid, and he was also a very hard worker. Tell someone some important details about what he did. As Tom got older, he kept doing great things. There were no telephones at the time. Instead, messages were sent through telegraph wires. They were sent in a code of dots and dashes. Tom learned the code. He got a job sending and reading telegraph messages. He found new ways to use the telegraph. Those were some of his first inventions. Now we're ready on chapter 3. When Tom grew up, he became an inventor. He invented all kinds of things that helped people. At that time, burning gas lights lit homes and streets. Sometimes smoke from the lights filled a room. Sometimes fire from the lights burned a home down. Wow, you might have a lot of questions about this page. When did they start to have lights? How did somebody invent that? Those could be different problems. I might ask myself some questions. Wow, How could someone solve that problem? Is Tom going to maybe solve that problem? What could his steps be if he's going to solve that problem? Let's see if we can find out. Tom was sure he could make a better light, so he did experiments with electric light. He had lots of ideas. His notes filled hundreds of notebooks. After more than a year of work, Tom did it. He made a light that was safe to use. The electric light is the light of the future, Tom said, and it will be my light. Edison's lights were big news. People came from all over to see them. Once they saw the Edison lights, they wanted them in their homes. Tom's lights brightened the world. Tom Edison spent his whole life making great things. The things he made helped people everywhere. I love these pages because this is Thomas Edison, and this is what he looked like in real life. This is a photograph of him at age 15. Here it says Edison invented the first machine that could record sounds and play them back. Without this, we might have no music players or movies and TV with sound today. So that gives you more information about some other inventions that he helped to make. This over here is another picture with a caption that says Edison made this early music player using his own sound machine. This is another invention that he had. Over here, this caption says Thomas Edison in his lab in Menlo Park, New Jersey. This one over here, this photograph is my favorite picture. It says Edison's light bulb design looks similar to ones we use today. What an amazing inventor. Down here, this caption says Edison invented the first machine for viewing films. Without this machine, there would be no movies. Remember, Thomas Edison was a great inventor, and you might have asked yourself the question, did he just only invent a light bulb? It was a great invention, but did he invent anything else? And we see you can answer some of those questions by looking at these pictures and reading those captions. And that is the end of our story. Go ahead and read about your author and then go try to retell the story in your own words to someone at home. That is a great reader strategy. Try to list some of those key details from the story and retell the problem and some different steps to solutions and maybe solutions that Tom found for solving some of those problems in the story. And he was a great inventor. Go ahead and try to tell someone at home why you think he was a great inventor. I hope you enjoy the story.